Hello again and welcome back to the channel. This is Michael from TOEFLresources.com, and in today's video I want to talk about the TOEFL integrated essay. In the video I'm going to start by talking about how the question is actually created by the people who make the TOEFL. I'll give you a practice question. I will give you essay templates that you can use on test day. I will give you a sample essay, and at the end of the video I'll answer a few questions that I frequently get from students. So first of all, what actually is the TOEFL integrated essay question? Well, here's what you have to know. First of all, you're given an article and you have 3 minutes to read it. The article is generally between 250 and 300 words. It has a single main argument, or it presents 3 separate theories about the same topic. Then the article goes away and you listen to a lecture which challenges the reading. That's usually between 2 and 3 minutes long. Finally, you have 20 minutes to write an essay which discusses how the lecture challenges the reading. And it's important to note that you can see the article as you write your essay. Beyond this, there are 3 main styles that this question can take. The first one is called the opposition style, and this comes up about 80% of the time. In this case, the reading has a main argument and the lecturer has the opposite main argument. The lecturer directly challenges whatever the reading says. 10% of the time, you get something a little bit trickier. We call this one the problems and solutions style. In this case, the reading presents 3 problems related to some specific topic, and the lecturer gives solutions to each one of those problems. So, for example, the author of the reading might feel there are 3 problems with using solar energy in the future, but the lecturer will challenge these claims by giving a solution to every one of the problems. Now, 10% of the time, you'll just get the opposite of this. We call it the solutions and problems style. In this case, it's the reading which gives solutions to some problem, and it is the lecturer who challenges each of those solutions and says, no, those solutions won't work. I do want to emphasize that no matter what style you get, you can use the exact same templates and the exact same method to write your essay. And I'm going to give you those in just a moment. But before we get any further, it's important to talk about what kind of academic subjects are represented in this section of the test. Now, broadly speaking, all academic subjects are represented. There's lots and lots of different topics on the test. However, it seems to me that the most common topics are related to animals and plants, or technology, or sometimes historical events or government policies. To illustrate what I've been talking about, I'm going to give you a sample reading and a sample lecture. Let's start with the reading. Now, the first thing you should notice is that the reading has 4 paragraphs. It's always like this on the test. The first paragraph is the introductory paragraph, and it is used to establish what the main topic is. In this case, it's Easter Island, and then the main argument. In this case, the argument is about what caused the collapse of the civilization on that island. Next up, you have the first body paragraph, and this contains the author's first theory about this topic. In this case, his first theory is that the collapse might have been caused by an infestation of large rats. And that theory is totally contained in this body paragraph. The next body paragraph has his next theory. In this case, he argues that the collapse might have been caused by frequent warfare. And that argument, that theory, is totally contained in this body paragraph. And then finally, you have the third body paragraph, which contains his third argument, which is that the collapse might have been caused by visitors from Europe and South America, and that's totally contained in this last body paragraph. Now, if you want to see the sort of things that I would make a note of on test day, you can pause the video and check out the parts I've just highlighted. When I'm reading the introduction, obviously I'm looking for the main topic here, which is Easter Island, and I'm looking for the main argument that he's going to make in the rest of the body paragraph. And then in the first body paragraph, I'm paying careful attention to the first sentence. The first sentence will usually summarize what the theory that's discussed in that paragraph is. And then as I read the rest of the paragraph, I'm looking for the most important supporting details. And I've done the same thing in the next two body paragraphs. I will point out that as you write your essay, you will have access to the article, so you might not need to take really detailed notes at first, but I do suggest that you try to take a few notes on your scratch paper. That's because for most students, taking some notes improves their comprehension, and it also prevents them from rushing through the reading and reading it in just like 30 or 45 seconds. Next up, we have the lecture. Now, of course, on test day, you will not have a transcript, and you're just going to listen to it. But for the purposes of today's video, I'm giving you the transcript. Now, what I really want to emphasize about the lecture is that it's sort of like a mirror image of the reading. So you can see it starts with an introduction, which establishes what it's going to talk about, which is Easter Island, and then it establishes what its main argument is, which is that the theories presented in the reading are not accurate. And then watch this. The first section of the lecture, kind of like its first body paragraph if it's written down, is about rats. That was the first thing that the reading discussed, and it's also the first thing that the lecture discusses. And then next it moves on to warfare, which again was the second thing discussed in the reading. And then it moves on to contact with outsiders, which was the last thing discussed in the reading. So what I really want to emphasize here is that the lecture discusses the exact same things as the reading, and it does so in the exact same order as the reading. A lot of books and videos and websites get this wrong, but they shouldn't, because ETS does this every single week. If you've got a book that doesn't do this, you should get rid of that book. All right, again, on the screen, you can pause it and you can see the sort of things that I would take notes about. In this case, as you're listening to the lecturer discuss each theory, it's not really the first sentence which is most important. Usually the first sentence just brings up the topic. So he says, let me open the discussion by challenging the theory about rats. That doesn't contain any useful details. It's just a signal to you that, okay, now he's talking about rats. The details you're looking for are contained a little bit later in each of the sections. Now, I do want to emphasize that you're never going to take perfect notes. Even I can't take great notes. I can't get notes of all the details. So part of your essay will depend on your memory, what you can remember from the lecture. I do encourage you to be bold, be brave. Try to include stuff that you remember, but maybe you didn't write it down. That will help your score, I think. Now, I'm just putting this on the screen. Again, I probably sound like a broken record, but I want to emphasize how the lecture and the reading really match up. So again, the reading here talks about rats, and then the lecture talks about rats. The reading talks about frequent warfare, and then the lecture talks about frequent warfare. The same for visitors from outside. Mirror images. I think if you can understand this, your job will be a lot easier. In terms of note taking, here are the notes I took. You might want to do something like this on test day. On the left-hand side of your page, put reading. On the right-hand side, put listening. And then put I for introduction, 1, 2, 3 for the body paragraphs. And then you take all your notes. You put down some cute little arrows. And then you take your listening notes. You can see my listening notes are fairly sparse. So I'm going to kind of fill in the rest of the essay, maybe using some details that I just remembered. And now for the most exciting part of the video, how to actually write the essay. If you've seen any of my videos, you know I'm a big fan of answer templates. I think that these sorts of templates can give your essay a lot more structure, and they can help you avoid tricky grammatical situations where you're going to make mistakes. In this case, I'm going to teach you how to write a 4-paragraph essay starting with an introduction. The introduction here has 4 sentences. You start out by stating the topic, and you can just write the exact same thing I've put on the screen. The reading and the lecture are both about, and then you fill in the blank. In this case, it's Easter Island, but I'll show you the sample in just a minute. Next up, you need to state the author's argument. In this case, you write, the author of the article feels that, and then you fill in the blank, or the author of the article provides 3 theories about, and then you fill in the blank. In our essay today, it's obviously a 3 theories style, so you're going to use the second sentence. Then you have a transitional sentence, and you can use the exact same sentence I've got here on the screen. You don't have to change anything. And then at the end, you state the lecturer's argument. Her position is that, you fill in the blank. Here's a sample. I won't read it all, but you can pause the video if you want. The underlined parts are the template. Everything else is what I filled in from my notes or from my memory. This one's 48 words long. A few general tips for introductions. First of all, I don't want you to waste time here. The introduction is probably the least important part of this essay, so don't feel obligated to spend a ton of time on it. Get it done as quickly as you can. If you need to save time, you can safely remove the final sentence from the template. That's not really important, and cutting it out might save you 45 seconds or a minute. Lastly, forget about specific details. You don't need to mention anything from the body paragraphs when you write your introduction. Just use the template as I gave it to you. Next up, body paragraph 1. Again, there's a template you can use on the screen. We start with a couple sentences which summarize the author's position from his first body paragraph. There is a transitional sentence, and then you summarize the contrasting argument from the lecture. It's as simple as that. You can see that's what it looks like for the essay at hand. The underlined parts are the template, and everything else is from my notes and my memory. This one's 96 words long. This will be the longest body paragraph because the template's a little bit longer this time. Next up, body paragraph 2. This one's just 4 sentences long. Fill in the blanks. Start with the author's position and then the contrasting position from the lecture. Here's what it looks like. This one is 77 words. Finally, you've got body paragraph 3. It's a very similar template. I've just kind of changed the verbs a little bit. You got the author's point, you got the lecturer's point. And then you've got the sample. And that is the entirety of the essay. This one is 71 words. I'm not much of a math teacher, but I think this one came out to like 295 words in total, which is a good length. Tips for body paragraphs. First of all, I really want you to emphasize the lecture. That should make up at least 60% of each body paragraph. that is the most important part of your essay. So really emphasize that. Cut the reading summary of each body paragraph if you need to. If you are a bit of a slow writer and you're having trouble finishing in time, cut the reading summary down to just one sentence per body paragraph. And as I said a few times, be bold and use your memory when you're writing the essay. Don't depend entirely on your notes, because your notes will never be good enough to get a perfect score. Part of it's in your head. A few general tips before I wrap this up. First of all, you don't need a conclusion for this essay. I promise you, you don't need it. You just need an introduction and 3 body paragraphs. Plenty of students have gotten 30 points without a conclusion. Aim for between 280 and 300 words in this essay. Ignore what is presented on the screen. That's just sort of a typical length. What ETS says is a typical length is probably good enough for a score of 20 or 21 points. But if you want more than that, aim for a much longer essay. Don't copy the reading word for word. It's going to be really tempting because the reading's going to be on your screen as you write the essay. You're going to think, ooh, this is really easy. I can just copy it. Don't do that. Try to paraphrase it as much as you can. Of course, you're going to copy a few words. That's inevitable, but don't just copy chunks of it. Don't copy whole sentences. Paraphrase if you can. And again, I want to emphasize the template works for all 3 styles, I promise. All right, a few questions that I get from students quite a lot. First of all, I'm always asked, isn't there a word limit? Won't I get punished if I write more than 225 words? No, there is no limit. You can write as much as you want. There's no penalty. You can write as much as you want. Next question. My teacher says I need a conclusion. I mean, fine. If you want a conclusion, you can put one in. It's just not necessary. Next, won't I get punished for using these templates? The answer seems to be no. If you look at the comments for all the old videos, plenty of students have come in and said, I used your exact templates and I got 29 or 30 points. So it's fine. Does the lecture ever support the reading? No, it really doesn't. Some teachers insist that sometimes it does, but I've never seen it and I've never had an accurate report of that. What about that one with the bird? That's one the ETS uses every few months. It's about a bird, but I assure you that's a problem and solution style question. And then another question I get is, should I mention the lecture first in each body paragraph? To me, the answer is no. You don't have to do that. You're not obligated to. Some teachers suggest that, but I find it leads to confusion and it makes the essay a lot more difficult. So I do suggest you follow the templates and mention the reading first in each of the body paragraphs. All right, that's all I have to say about this essay in 2020, but if you want to know more about what I do, you can visit me at TOEFLresources.com. If you go to that site, you can sign up for essay evaluations by me. It's a pretty handy service. You can email me your essays of both types and I'll examine them line by line and give you detailed corrections and comments, and I will even estimate how they would score. Otherwise, I'm on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Just search around and you'll find me. If you have any questions about the integrated essay or about the TOEFL at all, just leave them down below and I will answer them as soon as possible. All right, I'm going to leave it at that, but I'll see you again in a few weeks with a new video. Take care till then. Goodbye.